So, welcome to our podcast channel, You Can Be the Change. And it's been a while since we are coming back on our podcast episodes, but with a bang. I have with me Madhulika Chauhan, who I know for a while. I mean, of course, we go long beyond, we've been schoolmates, but she has been doing wonders in her life so far. She's not just a housewife, she's a mother, she's a novelist, she is a working woman, and then she also is managing an NGO. So wow, Madhulika, like I'm just thinking, are you like one person doing all this, or is it like, you have your own clones who are kind of managing all the stuff for you? So though, welcome to our podcast channel, Madhulika, and not just that, you've been kind of been awarded by the UP government for, as a UP Pravasiye Bharatiya program, right? I mean, apologies if I'm saying it wrong, but you've been recognized by the UP government for the great work that you're doing for your NGO, which is called One Trust. And then you've also been nominated as you were under the 100 Women by the Niti Aayog and the Women in Entrepreneurship program, right? I mean, the conjunction of that, and you were one of the 100 women that were recognized by them as well. So wow, like kudos and congratulations so for so many achievements. I mean, it's hard to believe that that one little girl who we used to just kind of go around in the school and kind of go doing all the naughty stuff is just not just so focused in her life and career, but is doing such great things for the society, giving back to the society. So I'm feeling obliged, and I'm feeling so great that I'm having to talk to you, and I can spend kind of do my episode of podcast with you. So thank you so much, Madhulika. And if you can, if I'm not sure if I've done enough justice of your introduction, but if you can just talk about yourself a little more.
I mean, I'm just so overwhelmed, Sugandha. Thank you. I mean, you make me sound like some other person. You know, I'm just wondering, is it really that much? Because once you're doing it, you don't really feel that much once you start doing it. So I'm like thinking, okay, yeah, whatever. But thank you. I mean, this is just an overwhelming introduction you've done. It's just, it's not justice. I think you've just overblown it a little. But thank you so much. You've been
Yeah.
very kind.
And you're being modest, of course. So let's talk about it. Madhulika, you are in China right now, right? And you are there for from 2007. So,
July
almost.
2007 to be precise.
Wow. So it will be almost 22 decades then that you've been in China, and you running your NGO from there. So of course we'll talk about that more. But then let's talk about the novel piece that you have been doing. You've been writing novels, right? What intrigues me most is like your novel thing writing, right? I mean, of course, I'm yet to read it because unfortunately your novels are not available in United States, so you have to do something about it. I'm so looking forward to come to India and actually buy those. But then how did it transpire? Like what inspired you to write novels, and like was it always within you, or yeah, if you can share some stories about it.
So I think I grew up in a household which was always filled with books, and I always saw my parents reading something, and reading was a very, very regular part. And I always had either my parents' friends we would go to; they had huge collections, so I would always be envious of people who had a lot of books. I still am. I love libraries. And somehow, as a child growing up, I always thought that people who write, they come from another planet. They cannot be they're so unearthly, they're writing about stuff, and they have to come from another planet. So I think that fascination towards an author is always there, but then writing was never a part which you are consciously thinking about. Because see, when you think about an author, it's always a jhola chap, you know you can't feed your mouth. So that's a very practical aspect to it. And growing up in not a business class setup, it was a service class setup, so we always knew we had to do something to kind of earn our living. So then if you want to earn your living, you cannot be hand to mouth and be an artist. But I think somewhere at the back of the mind there was some aspect which always was there, that I want to write, and you kind of give yourself excuses that, oh, you've not done this, and oh, you're not an MA English, and oh, all of that. So, but I think I started thinking about it very seriously when my son was born.
Mhm.
So I think that's when I had the time. So I was on my maternity leave. And, I had time from my office, because before that it was education and, getting into the corporate world and working, and then moving on to China. And then the very fact that you want to be a mother and all of that just pulls you in. And after I had him, that's when I think the whole I mean, I was very happy. I was over the moon when I had my son, but I also had time. And that kind of led me to think that, yes, I have time. What do I do with it? And that's when I started writing. So a little bit of a correction. I've always been in love with short stories. So my first book was a short story collection. So short stories always, intrigue me most. So novels still intimidate me, not reading wise, but yeah, writing a novel is like a full-time commitment, I feel. But short stories, you can be anything and everything. So you have a lot more to offer. So it just started. So there was no novel in mind, or I just wanted to try something. And it's very, very interesting that when I joined back from my maternity, I had a very bad boss. So I was not 100% clued in. And plus, the whole thing of, keeping yourself awake like 3 4 times at night and all of that, and a mixture of all that, I wanted to do something which kept me very happy. And somehow writing became my savior. So, it was that desire to create something where I felt very happy doing whatever I felt happy doing. So it was like the pursuit of being happy, that you have a child. So when you are chasing something, you want to be a mother. Now you are a mother, and now what? The big question is, now what? So one thing I feel is, never downplay a bad circumstance, because you'd never know what it leads you to. It leads, most of the time it leads you to gems.
Exactly. That's so true.
Right. So I think now if I ever meet that bad boss, I'm going to ask him to go have dinner with me. Yeah, I mean, I kind of was forced into thinking what would keep me happy. And it was one story I started writing, and then there was this local magazine. So I sent a few to them. And unfortunately, that magazine was shutting down. But what they offered me was a book club, where I had the opportunity to meet all these really old professors, English professors, and that gave me the much needed education I would have had otherwise, where I was kind of reading novels and discussing them, and characterization and all of that, which I would have done in, say, a full time course. So that helped me a lot. So, what I always feel now is that if you really want to do something, once you start, even with that first step, there will be help. You'll find somebody who will help you out in ways you have never imagined. So it's never an individual, it's always something teaming up with you,
Yeah.
right? Or somebody coming to your help,
Mhm.
and something which you have never imagined before. You cannot think of an end goal and start working towards it, but do what you really feel like doing. And some way or the other, things will find a way to kind of come together for you, which you would have never imagined otherwise. But for you to take that courage, that leap of faith, is very important. So for me, that was my first story, and it just one thing led to another, and finally I had my first short story collection. And secondly, you have to be very thick skinned, because you have to face a lot of rejections. Nobody knows you. So you have to, you've been working and you gain a name for yourself or whatever, but you are now stepping into an area nobody knows you. So you are worse than a fresher,
So true.
right? So you have to have the gut to kind of take it all in, and somebody trashing you and saying, okay, this is bad. And that's fine too, because do you love that aspect, or whatever that might be? Do you love it that much that you're ready to face rejection?
Yeah, right.
So you have to have that. It's a very humbling process.
Yeah, yeah.
It is a very humbling process indeed. So you have to be ready for that. And if you are that dog-headed, you just keep going despite the rejections, and I think you will find something.
Oh,
So
nice.
that's
Yeah, and
so it's
how much did the Nancy Drews played the part on in this played the role? I still remember us reading those Nancy Drews and kind of lining up for those and kind of also kind having that group who will take which Nancy Drew and kind of exchanging our Nancy Drews. So how much did that play role in your write novel writing?
not only Nancy Drew playing a role in my, I think long ago, and this is something one of my cousins, she reminds me that I remember you as a girl who wanted to be Kalon Keen because, and it was much later I realized that Kalon Keen was not one person, it was a plethora of women writing as Nancy Drew for Nancy Drew. So, I mean, and I wanted to be Nancy Drew as much. I have been that tomboy who would climb trees and, jump roofs to be Nancy Drew. So, yeah, I mean, we've done it together. We've exchanged those three Nancy Drews a week. So we've been on that. So I think somewhere, any kind of reading
Yeah, yeah.
does impact you. There is no denying that. So whether it's one author or, but the one author which really pushed me was, the novel by Stage Larson called The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. There was a movie of the same name.
Right.
It hit me a lot. And the reason why it hit me, not only I kind of liked the character he had written, but the fact that he died before that book was published kind of hit me very badly. So I was like, I don't want to do anything posthumously, I want to be alive and kicking while I see whatever is happening. And I don't care whether I fail or not.
Yeah, yeah.
But so that is, that kind of pushed me at that moment. So more than Nancy Drew, that was the book kind of pushed me. It can be anything.
Yeah.
It can be a bad boss, it can be a good boss, it can be a circumstance. So
Right.
inspiration can be anywhere.
Right. And I know that you run your YouTube channel where you kind of now recite your own story. Is it your own stories or you are just kind of reading out
So,
stories?
what see, we live in. I wouldn't debate about the kind of world we are living in, but the fact of the reality is that it's a very attention deprived audience we are catering to. So, how do we, even if I'm an author or an employee, whom am I catering to the end of the day? An audience, right? An audience which is attention deprived, who would rather say, I don't have time to read a book. So would I take offense to that? Or rather, would I provide my content to that audience in a way that's more chewable for them? So that kind of made me, figure out an idea that why not, narrate the stories I have. So the stories which I have on those are the ones I had written. They
Okay.
are, yeah. So they are written by me, and also they are a kind of there's something which I've written after that as well. So most of them are short stories which are definitely written by me and also narrated by me.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, and I know for sure, like, of course, who other than, but like about your narration, because, who other than our head of English teacher, right? Renu Bhatnagar ma'am, kind of calling it out and, kind of appreciating you for all the effort. So that was like, of course, that's commendable. And, hearing it out from the teacher we've always grown up looking towards, and then she's saying that you're doing a commendable job, of course means a lot. Of course, I'm sure that would mean a lot to you too. But then of course you're doing a great job, Madalika. I've just heard those YouTube videos, and then of course they are really nice. So you're doing a really good job there. And you rightly said, there's a attention span less for people. Of course, forget about reading. People, if it is videos even there which are longer, they would not want to listen to it and all that stuff going on. And this life is busy for, I think, most of the people around. So people usually try to listen in when they're driving towards either work or coming from work, and kind of do that. So I think your those YouTube videos and then those story narration, I think, if I would be the person, I would be like driving home, and I would be just listening in and kind of enjoying those. So I'm sure there would be that audience who would be enjoying those. Again,
I
congratulations.
certainly hope so.
Of course, if it is getting that attention, of course it would be. For
I
sure.
mean, no author can survive without the audience. So, so I think any any author or any media or any art cannot survive without patronage.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what I firmly believe in. So I can be a very good bathroom singer, but then if there's nobody to listen to it, then it dies right there.
yeah, right. So now changing a little bit of gears, right? I mean, of course, we talked about your writing, and so did that led to you working towards into an NGO? And of course, if you can shed some more light about your NGO first, like what it really does, and I know it's towards women hygiene, and especially young girls, menstrual cycles and all that stuff, which is actually commendable. Again, something that we, as an Indian society, try to not talk about it, but it is as important to talk about it as well, right? So if you can tell us a little more about your NGO and how that did that start for you.
So yeah, this I think NGO has also been a part of my childhood dream somewhere, where I always felt that, I'm going to work these many years in my life, and then I will start off. But what you realize in life is that you will never find the perfect moment where you can say, "Oh, I stopped this and then I start this." If you really want to do something, you have to just pick it up and start doing. And like I said, for book, if I start writing with the one story, this was just sharing the idea. So then sharing that idea, and then it might not come out the way you have always envisioned it. So you have to be open enough to tweak it, to kind of figure out what works best, what is there in the market. So we started our NGO uh, at the time where there were very few people talking about it. And initially, it was supposed to be how to say, a rural program, because they were, we've been doing work, but it was not organized work. It was not under a certain name. We did not have an organization where we were doing all of this. And then we decided we need to run a program, so we got it registered. So 2015 is when Vanprats got registered. That is the name of the organization, Vanpras Samajik Sanstha. And one of the core ideas was to work towards that strata of society which is underprivileged, where the right knowledge is not, being thrown into. And we had also had a plan of primary healthcare centers. So we there are a lot of things we wanted to do and run that program, but we had to start somewhere. And the interesting part was, once we started, we realized that this was something which was not gender related, right? This was, even though it's supposed to be a program and we're talking about menstrual cycles and all of that. Having said that, men need to be equally aware of it. There is no financial bar, because educated societies, people with money, don't talk about it. So this is a taboo we were dealing with. So we had to have an open talk, and the more we talk, we realize this is something which cuts across the strata of the society. So even though we are going to a village or to an educated society where women are supposed to be empowered and they're earning money, they still face the same problems because they're not talking about it. So the right education is not being imparted. And the importance of that is leading to a lot of malpractices. I wouldn't say malpractices, but unhealthy practices. And women's health is, women is she carries the weight or burden of carrying the next generation into this world. So the very fact that you are able to keep yourself healthy, and you're not even giving the basic education as to how to, that's a very basic education for me. So that's how it started. And once we started working on this, we realized we needed a broader platform and we needed a broader dialogue. So we've done it in rural areas. We've done it in, one of the most posh schools as well, where something which I have been very, very categorical about, also have boys in those groups when I'm talking about women's education, health education, because this is a topic where we need to sensitize men as well, right? Because it's not only a woman's problem. It's tomorrow you're going to be lawyers, you know, uh, tomorrow you're going to be doctors, tomorrow you're going to be husbands, right, or boyfriends or whatever. So if you're not aware of what your better half is going through, you will not be sensitized to it. You will not end up being the inclusive society we want to build up. So that's a part, we all owe it to them more than anything else. So I think most of it led to that. But other than, so under OnePress, we run a lot of programs. One is Vimochana. Vimochana is where we have and it is also a global MHT partner, which is in coordination with the UN WASH program. Then we have Save the Sparrow, where we work for, which is an endangered species. So that's where we work for the Sparrow program, again, creating a dialogue. And under that, we've actually distributed close to 3,000 birdhouses. So we've done that, and we got these programs are going on. Then we have Nar Narayan Seva, which started during the COVID time, where we were distributing food items at lower prices to the lower strata of the society. Then we have Green Connect, where we have sown in saplings and made schools green. So connecting little kids to nature. It also has mental health benefits, and if you are connected to nature, you kind of, you learn a lot. So so we've been doing that over the years as well. Also, we run a program called Raktan, where we have blood donation camps. And this is more niche because it is more around the Varanasi area where it was the organization is registered. Uh, we also have worked with the National Disaster Relief Force, where there were floods during Varanasi. That's one thing. So this is not something which is ongoing, but it's a case-to-case basis. One thing which we have, and if you talk about upcoming programs, we have dreamt of what we have, and as an idea that we want to have, like a primary healthcare center, a 20-bed facility for in the rural areas where people can come and get the primary screenings done. Because rather than forcing the tertiary, um, uh, things where we have multi-facility hospitals, why don't we attack the primaries, right? So if prevention is better than cure, so if we are hitting the primaries, then it will not go to a tertiary, right? You hit it at a while, and it's easier said than done for people who have money. But what about people who don't have those facilities? Right? And they are the backbone of where we stand. They are our breadbasket. They are the ones they are the farmers. They are the, what you call as the blue collared workers. But they are the ones on which our society stands. We should be providing them with the same kind of facilities. So that's one idea we have. That's what we're working towards. That's a pet project. Hopefully, we will be able to realize that. So that's all we have up till now. One thing I would say, something we have been always very conscious of is not to take government funding.
Okay.
So we have not taken government funding because we realized that we wanted to do so many things. And if I take a government funding, then that means I'm just limiting myself to just one aspect.
Yeah.
Right. So why do I want to box myself? I want to do so many things. So once I have that liberty, so I think you will see, like when you started, you said you're doing multiple things. So it's about boxing yourself. Why do you want to box?
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah. And you've touched a very good point about the primary healthcare, because especially I would say more of us as Indians as well, right? I mean, and it's like, and like, contradictory though, because my dad himself is a doctor, right? And he's been practicing doctor, but then he had also been complaining this, that and he was in the government, he was a government doctor, so in the government hospitals also, he would be like, people only come when they are in problem. They would not come just for a health checkup, right? I mean, okay, like here in the US, you have annual health checkups and all. Of course, now in India as well, the urban generation, kind of people, or the next generation is still kind of working towards it. But the general notion still is that, oh, we'll go to a doctor only when it is needed or when we are ill, right? They do not go to the doctor just like to make sure that we are not ill, right? So I think the your program, in fact, and especially as you rightly said, right? I mean, rural side of the world, where of course who are the people who are the backbones for our country, but also the people who need this education the most, for that matter. So if that's the program, where you run for the their primary health checkups, and which also is like not just men and women, kids, or children also, or people. And I think you and I were talking about it, that we talk about women health, and we talk about, of course, women are the bearers to the next generation, but I think women health in general is the most undermined kind of an area. And I think it's also the women themselves also, they try to be like, okay, well, we are okay, or we do not need to go and seek a doctor, or seek advice. So I think the awareness that you are raising through your NGO will not just help the women in general, or the people in general, but this whole awareness of people, where we think, oh well, this is for granted. We should be knowing that this is not for granted. We should be thinking about our health, and that's the primary thing. So that's again, Madhulika, I mean, uh, I can keep talking and talking and talking, because this is such interesting topics, and this is such interesting work that you are doing. And yes, you rightly said we should not be, kind of limiting ourselves in a box, or we should not be saying that, usually we say sky is the limit, right? So I think you are I personifying that, in that sense, that you're doing all the work that you're doing, and still, you have a child who you are, kind of raising right now, and then of course you have a lot of other stuff also, on the personal side, that you are looking taking care of. So, I mean, I would want to deep dive with you maybe in the next episode, and whenever you are available, talking more about your NGO in specific, and talking about the projects that you're saying you've done, or what are the upcoming projects. And also would want to know how, like, if I am the person, and as you said, you're not raising any government funds, right? I mean, and rightly, because government funds you only for one project, so you will have to just say that you are working towards this project, and that's where they will be funding you. But you want to go multi projects. So how, like, as being a myself, being a citizen, how can I contribute towards that NGO? Like, what can be my contribution? Not just economically, but financially, or how else, right? So I think that is another thing that I would want to understand much more. And kind of also the projects that, how can we look at those projects? How can we, if I'm a person who's more, okay, I just want women, a project where it's about girls education, and I want to contribute towards that financially, or physically as well, through my contribution. How can I do that, right? So maybe all those aspects, if we can talk in deep dive about that, that would be great, if you can lead us towards that. Of course, I know that this one, I might need multiple episodes with you, Madhulika, just being honest, right? And then I can take the advantage of being your the childhood friend, that I can have that advantage from Madhulika, that I can have 2 3 episodes with you. Right?
Absolutely. You
Yeah.
you can take me all you want.
Yeah, so of course, and thanks for sharing all the details. I mean, this is really the a lot of information here, and I think what you are doing through being, through your novels as well, maybe is that kind of somewhere it also kind of intrigues the person and kind of makes you think about it, right, as well, right? I mean, I just, as I said, I did not get the opportunity to read your novel, but hear your short stories. But those short stories also have some message, or the some underlying message towards it, them as well, right? Which is also good, right? I mean, in some way, lightly, but you're kind of touching on some points which the society should think about, or we as a listeners should think about. So you're doing a commendable job, Madhulika. And as I said, right, I mean, I can keep going on and on and on, but then our audience would be like, okay, we just don't have one episode. And we talked about short attention span, and we have to just keep in mind of that too. But as I said, we'll be talking more, and I would want to learn about, especially we want to run the whole episodes on women, women health in general. So I think your work towards women health, not just the menstrual cycle, but the mental health, or being ready to bear the kind of a new generation or the child, what the women should do in general. So probably that all that stuff as well. I would want to talk to you more indeed. So yeah, so for my listeners, keep in stay tuned for more from Madhulika. But thank you so much, Madhulika. Again, I mean, I'm just like
The
so glad.
pleasure is absolutely mine,
Yeah,
Sugandha. I mean, to be able to connect with you after epochs, I think, and this is just
yeah,
wonderful. I feel like the Nancy Drew again. So thank you for making me feel like one. But I think you're being very kind in enumerating so many things. I trust me, it's not that much. Anyone who really wants to do something would be able to do something. It's all it takes is that idea you want to run with, and just don't feel that, oh, what if I fail? So leave the what ifs aside and just go ahead and dive in, and you'll find a way. Trust me, you'll find a way. So
awesome. Okay, on that note, I think I'll just say thank you so much, and we meet again. And thanks everyone for listening in. And but do stay tuned for all our other episodes. Thank you.
thank you, Sugandha. Thank you, everyone.